Welcome to the Divine Frequency. This is not just a relationship series. It's a soul excavation. Because love is not only found in joy. It's also buried beneath our patterns, our pain, and the stories we never meant to repeat. Why do we stay where we are not seen? Why do we return to those who broke us? Why does pain feel familiar and love feel uncertain? This isn't weakness. This is wiring. This is biology and memory and unhealed soul fragments, calling for reunion with the self. Because deep within every repeating cycle is a lesson, a wound, a whisper, saying, "You are worthy of something greater." But we cannot heal what we do not see. So today, we begin to see. With compassion. With science. With truth. Let this be the beginning of release. From patterns that do not serve you. From stories that do not reflect you. From love that asks you to shrink. Because real love, true, aligned, divine, does not imprison. It expands. It liberates. It begins with you. The biology of bonding and why we stay. Why do we stay? Why do so many women and men find themselves returning to relationships that wound them, shrink them, or silence their soul? To answer this, we must look beyond logic. Because the answer is not found in reason. It is found in biology, in chemistry, and in the primal codes of attachment. When a woman bonds intimately with a partner, her body releases a powerful hormone, oxytocin. Often called the love hormone or bonding chemical, oxytocin is released during physical closeness, emotional intimacy, and especially during acts of affection, touch, eye contact, and yes, sexual intimacy. This is the very same hormone released during childbirth and breastfeeding. It's what allows a mother to bond deeply with her newborn, even through exhaustion and pain. It creates loyalty. It creates empathy. It creates a deep, embodied sense of "I belong to you." Now imagine this powerful hormonal tether being formed in a romantic relationship. Even one that is chaotic, inconsistent, or toxic. The body cannot distinguish between a healthy bond and a harmful one. The oxytocin is released just the same. And once it is, the nervous system becomes entangled. Pair that with elevated cortisol, the stress hormone released during arguments or moments of abandonment and fear, and you have a biochemical cocktail that creates what researchers now call trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is not a weakness. It is a survival mechanism. The brain wires itself to seek safety, even in unsafe places. And every moment of calm or affection, no matter how fleeting, becomes a dopamine hit, reinforcing the cycle. This is why some women, and men, feel addicted to their partners. It's not love in the truest sense. It's biology. It's the body pleading for stability in a sea of inconsistency. And when someone tries to leave such a relationship, they're not just walking away from a person. They're going through withdrawal. Physiological, emotional, and spiritual. It is no different, neurologically, from breaking an addiction to a substance. This is why it hurts so much. This is why it feels impossible. And this is why compassion must come first. So if you've ever wondered, why didn't she just leave? Or if you've asked yourself, why do I keep going back? Know this. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are human. And your body has simply been trying to protect you with the only tools it had. But now, you have a new tool. Awareness. And awareness is the beginning of freedom. Let's take a deep breath now. Let your body know, you are safe. You are seen. And you are starting to understand. That understanding is the first step. Out of the cycle. And into your truth. The roots of repetition, emotional imprints and subconscious patterns. There's a reason some relationships feel like déjà vu. Different face, different name, but the same story. The same arguments, the same heartbreak, the same emotional aftermath. This isn't coincidence. It's pattern. Not conscious, but subconscious. Because your nervous system is always scanning for what feels familiar. And familiar doesn't always mean safe. Sometimes, it just means known. If you grew up around chaos, neglect, or emotional inconsistency, your inner child may equate instability with love. Not because it was healthy, but because it was home. So when a new partner mirrors those old dynamics, your subconscious lights up. Yes, this feels like love. Even if it hurts. Even if it drains you. This is called an emotional imprint. A memory etched not in thought, but in feeling. In body language. In tone of voice. In how love was given, or withheld. These imprints form a blueprint. And unless examined, they repeat. You may find yourself drawn to people who feel like your past. Trying to finally receive from them what you never got before. Validation. Affection. Approval. Safety. But people who remind you of your wounds are rarely the ones who will heal them. To break the pattern, you must first recognize the echo. That whisper in your mind that says, "This feels familiar." And then ask, familiar to what? Familiar to who? Is this love, or is this a memory? Healing begins when you make the unconscious conscious. When you pause the pattern long enough to question it. To ask yourself, am I choosing this person because they meet my needs? Or because they mirror my wounds? Because once you see the pattern, you no longer have to repeat it. You can choose differently. You can choose love that is calm, safe, reciprocal, kind. Not love that reminds you of the past, but love that helps you build a new future. The emotional echo, why we return to what hurt us. There's a moment, deep in the heart of many relationships, when pain is no longer the sharp sting of betrayal or disappointment, but a dull, familiar ache. An ache we learn to live with. An ache we sometimes mistake for love. So why do we stay? Even when we know it's hurting us. Even when we've cried more than we've laughed. Even when we've already let go in our hearts. One answer is fear. The fear of starting over. The fear of the unknown. The fear of being alone. Because the relationship, however toxic, has become familiar. It holds our history, our routines, our stories. They know the way we take our coffee, the songs we love, the things that make us laugh. And starting over with someone else means being seen anew, relearning, retelling, reopening. That can feel terrifying. There's also the fear that maybe this is the best we'll ever get. That maybe we're asking for too much. That maybe something is wrong with us, and this is what we deserve. These fears don't live in logic. They live in the nervous system. They live in the echoes of childhood wounds, in the places where we first learned what love costs. And layered beneath it all, there's a quieter force. One even more seductive than fear. Hope. Not the grounded, empowered kind. But the kind that becomes an illusion. The hope that they will change. That they'll finally hear you. That they'll become the partner you saw in the beginning. That the love you imagined will finally come alive. And here's another quiet truth. Sometimes, we didn't fall in love with who they were. We fell in love with their potential. We fell in love with the version of them we hoped they would become. With their light, their promise, their someday. But falling in love with potential is not the same as falling in love with reality. Potential is only sacred if it is met. If it remains stagnant, or worse, denied. Then we are not loving the person as they are. We are loving a dream, a possibility, a shadow. And staying in a relationship for who someone could be. is a recipe for heartbreak. Because you deserve a love that is lived, not imagined. People can change, but only if they choose to. And even then, it takes radical honesty, humility, and deep inner work. You cannot love someone into changing. You cannot weight them into healing. And you cannot stay in pain, hoping that your suffering will inspire their transformation. Because every time you choose the illusion over the truth, you abandon yourself just a little more. And that's the wound we must heal first. The belief that we must sacrifice our peace to prove our worth. That we must endure harm to earn love. So if you find yourself trapped between fear and hope, remember this. You are allowed to walk away from what hurts. Even if you love them. Even if you shared history. Even if you once believed they were your forever. Because staying is not proof of love. Sometimes, leaving is. And healing begins not when they change, but when you do. When you choose yourself. When you name the truth. When you say, this is not enough. I am not meant to suffer to be loved. You are not asking for too much. You are remembering your worth. And that is the beginning of freedom. The turning point, reclaiming your power. There comes a moment. Not always loud, not always clear. But a moment when something shifts. A quiet knowing. A sacred discomfort. A whisper that says, this isn't love. This is survival. And that moment is holy. It is the beginning of the end. And the beginning of the beginning. Because before we leave the relationship, we must first leave the illusion. The illusion that we need them to be whole. The illusion that our worth is measured by how much we endure. The illusion that love must always come with pain. Reclaiming your power begins when you question the story. The story that says, I can't leave. The story that says, it's not that bad. The story that says, maybe it's my fault. No, beloved. You are not too much. You are not impossible to love. You are not broken. You've simply outgrown the cage. And it is okay to leave what once felt like home. Especially if that home now hurts your soul. You do not need to wait for the other person to understand. You do not need permission to choose yourself. You do not need proof that your pain is valid. Your experience is enough. Your feelings are enough. Your knowing is enough. This is where the shift happens. When you stop asking, how can I make this work? And begin asking, what is this costing me? Your peace. Your sleep. Your joy. Your identity. Because love should not cost you yourself. And if it does, it is not love. It may be attachment. It may be trauma bonding. It may be obligation or fear or history. But it is not the love your soul came here to receive. So take a breath. Place a hand on your heart. And ask gently, what would it mean to choose me now? What would it look like to trust the voice inside me? What would it feel like to be free? The answers may not come all at once. They may arrive in tears, in dreams, in sudden moments of clarity. But they will come. Because once your soul awakens, it does not go back to sleep. This is your turning point. Not a collapse. But a rising. Not the end of love. But the beginning of true love. The love that starts with you. If you've listened this far, it means something deep within you is stirring. Something ancient, sacred, and ready. Maybe it's a truth you've long silenced. Maybe it's a strength you forgot you had. Maybe it's a whisper from your higher self saying, you are worthy of more. And you are. You are not here to shrink yourself to fit someone's comfort. You are not here to mistake pain for passion. You are not here to rewrite yourself to be chosen. You are here to awaken. To remember. to rise. This journey of breaking cycles, of seeing clearly, of untangling love from suffering. It is not easy, but it is holy. Because when you choose yourself, you choose truth. And when you choose truth, you choose freedom. This is not about blaming the other. It's not about hatred or revenge. It's about liberation. It's about saying, I am no longer available for relationships that dim my light, distort my worth, or make me question my soul. It's about becoming the kind of love you've always deserved. So if you're still in the relationship, know that clarity comes in layers. There's no rush, no shame, no judgment, just awareness. If you've already left, know that healing doesn't come in straight lines. Grief is not a setback. Missing them is not weakness. It's just part of the release. And if you're somewhere in between, still holding on, still unsure, breathe. You're not behind. You're not lost. You're unfolding. You are allowed to want love that nourishes you. You are allowed to outgrow what you once thought was enough. You are allowed to rewrite the story. Because you were never meant to stay small. Bound by pain. Silenced by fear. You were meant to rise. To radiate. To love again. But from wholeness. So take one more deep breath. Place your hand on your heart. And say it softly, or say it loud. I release what no longer honors me. I remember who I am. I am reclaiming my power. I am ready to rise. If this episode spoke to your soul, please share it with someone who may need these words. And subscribe to stay connected. As we continue to explore healing, awakening, and soul-aligned love. In our next episode, we'll explore why we keep attracting the same kind of relationship, even when we know better. We'll look at the unseen mirror, how our inner beliefs, unresolved wounds, and unspoken fears shape the partners we draw in, and how we can break free from that cycle once and for all. Until then, stay rooted in your truth. Stay in your light. And stay with us as we continue to awaken, break old cycles, and live fully in the divine frequency.